It doesn't get better. The pain, the wounds scab over, and you don't always feel like a knife is slashing through you. But when you least expect it, the pain flashes to remind you that you will never be the same. Edith Babirye was only 7 when she was diagnosed with polio. Her family was living in Iganga district.
When I
was 8, just a year after I had been diagnosed with polio, my parents both passed on. I stayed with my relatives who sponsored my education until primary 7, where I stopped. They said they could not support me financially anymore, and so they advised me to work and support myself.
When she was 16, she traveled to Kampala to work as a housemaid. It was at this point that Babirye opted for what she believed was a safer option.
So at 19, I got a man and we had 2 children, but after some time he changed and he told me that he could not have a relationship with a disabled woman.
The 32-year-old says that this came as a shock because they had been together for 2 years and the separation meant that the fate of their 2 children hung in the balance.
I left with my younger child only, but when the situation worsened, I decided to take her back, something her father did not want. But I had no option and I left the child at his doorstep.
The children's father would later give them to his relatives. Now back on the streets with no one to turn to, Babirye says she looked to Kampala again, hoping for a better life, but she was in for a surprise.
I am a strong woman. I walked from office to office on Kampala Road looking for jobs. Many times they turned me down because of my situation, but I would even beg to work for free, just so I get something to eat and somewhere to sleep.
After working in people's houses for some time, Babirye started her own business.
Like any other person, despite what I had experienced, I was lonely. I needed someone to share my life with. And so I found another man, an engineer who was one of my customers at the food joint. It took me some time to get used to him, given the memories of the way I had been treated in my previous relationship. You see, it had been close to 7 years since I was last involved with a man.
Before long, Babirye started to notice that he was acting inappropriately.
When you're just starting to date, they don't show you that they notice your disability, only that they always want to keep it a secret. In fact, they usually want to meet you at night when no one can see them.
Things took a turn for the worse when she became pregnant for him.
We dated for 2 years and then I got pregnant. When I told him about the pregnancy, he turned against me and insisted that he was impotent and added that even if he wasn't, he would never have children with a disabled woman.
Once her daughter turned 6 months old, she started seeking legal help in order to get him to take responsibility, but it did not yield much.
When I went to FIDA to seek help, they summoned him. They told him to give me 100,000 shillings every month, but he refused. When the child reached school-going age, he instead sent his friend to ask me what she needed, but since I knew who he was, I was sure it was a game. But I still went. After one term went by, I was worried, and so I called him about it. He asked me whether he was the one who had carried the baby in his womb, before adding that I should look for money and pay her school fees myself. I was so angry that I deleted his phone number. It has not been easy, but I have been looking after my child ever since.
So, would she be willing to give love another chance?
I got fed up. They only come to use you to satisfy their need. My main problem is school fees for my child. My business is small and can only afford to earn us a daily meal. No one would ever want to live where we do because when it rains, it comes in. It is a nightmare. Insects are everywhere. And it gets so cold at night. But what can we do?
Love is a beautiful thing, they say, and that whoever finds it finds a good thing indeed. But what happens when love causes more pain than joy and leaves long-lasting wounds? In the second part, NTV talks to Nusulu Kakere, a person living with disabilities that has had better luck with love. Sandrah Twinoburyo, NTV News.